Allah is my heart's speech. Your mercy is what I beseech. Keep in my heart your remembrance, and in your deen allow me to advance. Help me in my quest. Permit me to pass the ultimate test. Help me in my quest. Permit me to pass the ultimate test.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على نبيه ومصطفاه سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. Brothers and sisters, welcome to another live edition of your program, Ask Huda. Our phone numbers beginning with the area code are 002, then 0238555131 or 132, and the Facebook page is the R. Muhammad Salah Official. We didn't have pending questions, but we have many questions that I receive on the page. The first I have is from Tawsif Qadir. Tawsif says, if an imam leads a prayer and after finishing the salah, he told the followers that he has not done wudu before starting the salah, what if the time window for the salah has gone? Anyway, in the hadith, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, لا يقبل الله صلاة بغير طهور. Allah doesn't accept a prayer without a purification. So the person must have wudu to remove the minor impurity, or if it is required to remove the major impurity, likewise, he will be required to perform ghusl in order to be able to pray for either prayer, fard or nafl, or any kind of prayer. If the person figured out within the prayer that he or she did not have wudu, or if their purification, ablution was void during the prayer, then they should interrupt their prayer and leave the prayer without taslim, because this prayer is invalid. And they have to perform tahara, then they start over. If the person after finishing the prayer realized that he did not have wudu, then he will be required to redo the prayer which he prayed without wudu, even though he was under the impression that he had wudu, but in reality he didn't. As far as the case of an imam who prayed and he didn't know that he was not having wudu, but the ma'mumeen followed him, and after the prayer he realized that he didn't have wudu, only him would be required to perform the same prayer again. And the followers are not blameworthy. Their prayer is valid because they had wudu. While the only prayer which is invalid is the prayer of the person who did not have ablution, or his ablution was interrupted during the prayer, whether he is an imam or a ma'mum. Ajmal C. Ajmal says, I'm always lazy to wake up for Fajr. In my childhood days, I used to do it, but that has changed. How to rectify this? Being able to get up for Fajr, to pray Fajr on time, or to attend the Fajr in Jama'ah, is the outcome of many practices. Yani, it is the result of working hard to increase your iman, is working hard to remain steadfast on the straight path. So a person whose iman is strong and powerful, a person who truly loves his Creator, a person who ponders over the countless blessings of Allah upon him, beginning with the sight, beginning with the power of being able to breathe, to digest, to excrete, and all of that. So he is in true love with his Creator. And he wants to thank Allah, his Creator, the one who bestowed upon him all of these favors. And the best way to do it is by fulfilling what Allah has ordered you to do. As in the sound hadith, which is also a sacred hadith, Allah the Almighty says, there is nothing that my servant can do to draw close to me better than fulfilling what I have ordained upon him. Salatul Fajr, or the Fajr prayer, isn't only one of the 5 daily prayers, And it is not only mandatory to pray, but it's also one of the best prayers of the day, because Allah the Almighty put emphasis on that in Surah Al-Isra. He recommended attending the Fajr prayer in Jama'ah and pondering over the recitation of the Quran, particularly in this prayer because of the quiet environment around you, which gives you a greater opportunity to have khushu' and concentration in the prayer. Allah the Almighty says in Surah Al-Isra, وَقُرْآنَ الْفَجْرِ إِنَّ قُرْآنَ الْفَجْرِ كَانَ مَشْهُودًا. The recitation of the Quran during the Fajr, because the recitation of the Quran during the Fajr prayer is been witnessed. Witnessed by whom? So the ayah emphasizes the importance of praying in the morning and in the evening, but most importantly to attend the Fajr prayer and to ponder over the recitation of the Quran during this prayer, because this prayer will be witnessed by all the angels, those who are in charge of guarding and serving us during the day time and the night time. They both meet in the Fajr prayer and they attend the Salah. So what a shame when a person is flipping over in the warmth of his bed, leaving the masjid and leaving the angels attend the prayer, and he is left behind and he is negligent of this duty. When the person takes the ibadah, and particularly the prayer, as just a duty, as a heavy duty, it will be like a burden, and that's why he perceives it as a heavy duty. It becomes tough. But when the person loves his Creator, when the person understands that what I'm doing is for the goodness of my own self, it will not benefit Allah and art, nor will it increase His domain and art. It is only for myself. It is one of the means of giving thanks to Allah. It is one of the means of increasing my asset of good deeds. It is one of the means of bringing me close to Allah. And definitely it's a sign of a strong faith and a strong belief. One day, as I was going to attend the Fajr prayer in our Islamic Center in Texas, when I returned, I saw one parking lot which was packed. It was still dark, which means it was in winter. It was cold. It was still dark. And the parking lot was packed with cars. So I wondered, what kind of activity is it that is held early morning before sunrise? Is it like a service in a church? Is it a temple? Then as I approached the parking lot, I saw the sign. It's a renal dialysis clinic. So all those people are here. May Allah protect us all, and may Allah give shifa to those who are sick, for the renal dialysis. For the dialysis. You know, imagine this dialysis is happening on regular basis by your kidneys without feeling any pain, without having to pay any money, without wasting any time, and it is happening as you're resting and sleeping. This is one blessing which you don't have to get up early morning to sit in your turn, in the queue to get the renal dialysis. Rather, you just need to say, thank you Allah, Alhamdulillah. So get up and attend the prayer. Wallahi, it will make your day. It is not just a duty that you have to fulfill, but this is for your own goodness. It will definitely make your day. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brother Anwar from the KSA.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
How are you, Sheikh?
I'm just fine, thank you for asking, Brother Anwar. Barakallahu feek.
Jazakumullah khair.
Wa jazak.
Sheikh, I have a small question regarding inheritance.
Now,
if a person who has maybe 3 or 4 sons and daughters, and he, as what I have known, that he can make a will, but somebody was saying if he make a will, then the Sharia will not apply, which I'm a little doubtful about that.
he will write a will to whom? For whose favor?
For his own children.
Okay, giving anyone anything more than their due rights or less?
Hello?
Yeah, can you hear me, Anwar?
Yes.
Okay. Would his will include or entail giving any one of his children more than his or her right, or less?
It could be, but this is what, like, for example, if he has daughters and son, he wants to divide everything 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, for example, equally among daughters and sons.
طيب. In his life.
Yeah, in his life.
طيب. Any other questions?
Yeah. Actually, the same point is continuing that there is, according to some our hadith, he can give 1/3 of his property in charity or by will to somebody else. Can he give it to one of his children?
Okay.
Other than the Sharia division, he can give. Maybe he's not educated or he's having a problem, so he want to give 1/3 completely to him, and then the rest will be divided among his children.
Got your question. Are you done?
That's all. Shukran. Jazakumullah khair.
To answer this question and straight to the point, there is a hadith in which the Prophet ﷺ says, لا وصية لوارث. This is the end of the story. There is no valid will for one of the heirs. So you cannot write an extra share for any of the family members who have the right to inherit from you. But you can give and write wasiyah to anyone whom you like, whether they are poor or rich, eligible or not, within 1/3 of your wealth. If a person writes a wasiyah or a will, which in this wasiyah that he gives anything beyond the 1/3, what is above the 1/3 will be neglected, will be overwritten, will not be honored, in addition to committing a sin, if he were to know. And it is not permissible to write anything extra to a son or a daughter, or a wife or a husband or one of the parents, as long as they have a right in the inheritance. But if somebody's son died during his life, his grandchildren from this son or daughter who died during his life do not have any share in the inheritance. So it is recommended for the grandfather to write them a share perhaps similar to their late father's share in his wealth. That makes sense. So if he were to write 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, or to divide the inheritance equally amongst his sons and daughters, and he says that to be executed, to be done after his death, that is invalid, and it shouldn't be honored. But if somebody within his life, he distributed his wealth, he gave his son that much and his daughter that much, and he gave a person who may be handicapped, didn't have a chance to get educated, or have some sickness or disability, they are not as fortunate as others, he gave them a little extra, that is also valid. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us to what is best. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We have Noor from Nigeria.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Good evening, Ya Sheikh. How are you doing?
Good evening to you. I'm fine. Thank you for asking, Noor. How about yourself?
I'm good, alhamdulillah.
Great. Go ahead.
Okay, Sheikh, my question, I know you have probably answered it a couple of times. It's about passing water over the socks. So I normally do it. Then some days back, when I was passing water, someone was telling me that it's not right.
Yeah,
because even during the time
Noor,
of the...
so far I didn't get the question because you were breaking off. Can you slow down and say that again, please? Noor? Assalamu alaikum.
Someone told me that the hoof, it was because the hoof was very difficult to wear and take off. That's why the companions used to pass water over it. And also the hoof was made of skin, so there's no way that water can penetrate. But the socks, the socks, water can easily penetrate them. So it's not right to pass water over the socks.
Akhi, I understand from the part which I got from your question, you're asking about the hoof.
Yes, passing water over the socks.
Then you're asking about wiping over the fabric socks, which are not
Yes.
khuf. Okay.
Yes.
طيب. Barakallah fiqh.
Okay.
I did answer this question before, and I said some of the scholars are of the view that it is not permissible to wipe over the cotton or the fabric socks, and it must be a khuf, which is either made fully of leather or at least its sole made of leather. And I said amongst those who hold this view or held this view was Imam Abu Hanifa, may Allah have mercy on him. And his view was opposed by his own students, Muhammad wa Abu Yusuf, the judge Abu Yusuf, and Muhammad ibn al-Hasan. And they have narrated that in his late days, he yielded and he agreed to their view, and he started wiping over his cotton socks. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brother Faisal from the United Kingdom. Please try again, Faisal from the UK. Okay. So, yes indeed, I mentioned there is a difference of opinion, but I presented what I believe is more right, that as long as you're wearing socks above the ankles, and the main idea is to give ease for the believers. When Al-Mughira ibn Shu'bah was pouring the wudu water for the Prophet ﷺ to perform his ablution, he rushed to take off his khuf, to take the Prophet's khuf. He knelt down in order to assist him to take his khuf off. So he said, دعهما فإني أدخلتهما طاهرتين. Leave them on. You don't have to take them off. Then he wiped with his wet fingers on top of his khuf, on the upper part, not on the sole. And the effective reason was because he had tahara before he had put them on. So, the scholars said the same ruling applies, whether it is made of leather, whether it's made of fabric, as long as it is not thin or see-through, where you can see the epiderm or the color of the skin from those see-through socks, like they are real socks. So you can wipe over them. And another condition, they should cover the area which should be washed during wudu. Nowadays we have the low-cut socks, which they go beneath the ankles. You cannot wipe over them. Assalamu alaikum. Brother Haytham from the United Kingdom.
Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Haytham, welcome to Ask Huda.
Thanks. Sheikh, my question is about the hadith which says that Habiba and Salama, when they came to Abyssinia, and they were talking about the church, they were mentioning it to the Prophet. So I want to know, because at that time, Habiba and Salama, the muhram was the Prophet ﷺ, and he was in Medina at that time. So does that allow a woman to travel by herself?
طيب, I got your question. Thank you. Haytham, that's a very nice question. But you could have done your homework and did a little research about who's Habiba and who's Salama. Salama and her husband, Abu Salama, both made hijrah together. And Habiba, Abu Sufyan's daughter, was married, and her husband made hijrah with her, and he died in Habasha. And after she was a widow, that the Prophet ﷺ proposed to her, and it was An-Najashi, the Abyssinian king, who represented her in giving her in marriage to the Prophet ﷺ. Then she arrived to Medina afterward. So both of them were married. Ruqayya, the Prophet's daughter, too, she made hijrah in the first hijrah to Al-Habasha as well. And she made hijrah with whom? With her husband, Uthman ibn Affan. Yet, so now I've verified something which was confusing you, that it is not permissible for women to travel alone. So how? I told you that these women, before they were married to the Prophet ﷺ, may Allah be pleased with them, they were married previously. some of the news about Habiba's husband that he either died or he converted. But that she was married at the time and her husband was Muslim. And similarly, Salama. And if you remember, we spoke about this amazing love story that Salama and Abu Salama have and their sacrifices during the Hijrah. Now, during the major Hijrah, Salama and Abu Salama narrated that it was the first house to execute the migration, to do Hijrah. And when Abu Salama took their son and his wife, Salama, and they were reaching the borders, the Meccans, Salama's family stopped them. And they said, if you, لَقَدْ غَلَبْتَنَا عَلَى نَفْسِكَ, if you want to travel by yourself, we cannot stop you. But at least our daughter, she's not going nowhere. So they withheld her. And obviously the son stayed with her. He decided that he was going out for the sake of Allah, so he's not going to change the plan. So he left. As he left, his family came and disputing the right over the son, Abu Salama and Salama's son. And also they kept fighting until they dislocated his arm. They pulled it off. They were pulling the child from both sides. So anyway, she stayed crying for an entire year in depression, and every day she was crying until finally some family members said, why don't you just let her go? She's gonna die like that. So she assumed the journey on her own, by herself. On her own. As she was traveling from Mecca to Al-Medina by herself, because this is a necessity, she wants to make hijrah. There was a person who was still a non-Muslim by the name of Uthman who accompanied her to Al-Medina and drove her to the borders of Al-Medina, then he returned back. So this is an exception because it is a valid excuse, it's a necessity. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Medina from Ethiopia. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Medina. Okay, please try again, Sister Medina, no problem. Mini Yon. Mini's question is, can I be doing dhikr and at the same time talking? Well, I don't understand how can you achieve both, because a dhikr could be practiced by the tongue alone or by the tongue and the heart, okay? And this is, of course, the best case scenario where you will be doing dhikr and meanwhile pondering over what you're making. And the person could be making dhikr by the heart alone. Okay? But if the person is talking, you cannot claim that you're making dhikr by the heart. Because Allah the Almighty says in Surah Al-Ahzab, مَا جَعَلَ اللَّهُ لِرَجُلٍ مِّن قَلْبَيْنِ فِي جَوْفِهِ. Whether the word heart here is referring to the mind or to the actual heart, al-qalb, okay? What matters here is, in order to do something which requires pondering, you gotta do one thing at a time. You cannot be listening to the Quran and its recitation while on the phone. That's a disrespect. But you can be cooking in the kitchen or doing a hand labor, a physical activity. You can be jogging and listening to the Quran or making dhikr, because your physical activity does not necessarily require your heart and mind, doesn't require your mind's attention. But a dhikr requires that. So I personally believe it's impossible to be talking and making dhikr. You know, I would say if you're sitting and people are talking and you're making dhikr, it's possible because you could be focusing on what you're saying, what your heart is contemplating. But talking while making dhikr, I believe it's impossible. It can't happen. The second question is, can I read the Quran in my phone while it's lying down on my bed? Yes, you may. That is because Allah the Almighty says in Surah Al Imran, الذين يذكرون الله قياما وقعودا وعلى جنوبهم ويتفكرون في خلق السماوات والأرض ربنا ما خلقت هذا باطلا سبحانك فقنا عذاب النار. So Allah admired those who ponder over the verses of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, those who remember Allah and celebrate His praise in every condition. Qiyaman, while standing, that entails also while walking. وَقُعُودًا, while sitting. Sitting in the office, sitting in the masjid, sitting in the plane, sitting in a car where they're driving or you're a passenger. وَعَلَى جُنُوبِهِمْ, and on their sides, which means while lying down, while reclining in either condition. As long as you're focusing and paying attention to what you're reciting, whether it is a Quran or reciting your supplications and adhkar. Brothers and sisters, it's due to go for a short break, and inshallah we'll be back in a few minutes. Please stay tuned.
Commercials motivate viewers into immediate action and to sway consumer loyalty from one brand or service to the other. That's why we're here for you, to help you sell your products and services by using creative ideas that bring life into your own TV commercial. Advertise your business and branded products and services on Huda TV. We will offer you fast-paced and energetic 30-second affordable TV spots. Advertise on Huda TV. Acquire fresh customers and stay within your budget. For more info or to receive a quote, please send your inquiries to advert@Huda TV. Huda TV.
This is the Dean Show. 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 This is the Dean Show.
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, assalamu alaikum, peace be unto you. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Deen Show. From time to time, we answer some of your questions. We have so many important issues that we're dealing with here on the Deen Show, and we encourage you to come back here every week. And if you don't catch us on the TV station, you can go to thedeenshow.com where all of our shows are there.
It is important for us when we look at the issue of holiday myths, that we look at the whole picture. And from the beginning of time, people worshipped the Creator in different ways. The Quran tells us in the chapter of the Bee, Surah An-Nahl, وَلَقَدْ بَعَثْنَا فِي كُلِّ أُمَّةٍ رَسُولًا أَنْ يَعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ وَاجْتَنِبُوا الطَّاغُوتَ.
Maryam, how are you?
Good, alhamdulillah.
Thank you for being with us on the Deen Show.
You're welcome.
So how old are you again?
I'm 8 years old.
I didn't want to get that wrong. 8 years old. And you've memorized how many juz of the Quran?
I memorized 21 juz from the Quran.
21 juz. MashaAllah.
As you know that there is no concept of clergyman in Islam.
There isn't?
There is not.
Okay.
And this idea is supposed to be very liberating. Nobody comes between you and your Creator.
Okay.
You do not need an operator. It's a direct call. So Islam rejects the whole notion of clergyman. So a sheikh, imam is a title that is given to a person like myself when the community feels that you're worthy of it. And it's just a title out of respect.
This is the Dean Show. This is the Dean Show. This is the Dean Show.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back. Brothers and sisters, we have a question from one sister. I'm going to conceal the name. She says she's 39 weeks pregnant and having continuous white discharges. The question is it allowed to pray salah with ablution only but without bathing and ghusl in this condition? The jurists differentiate between the discharge which happens from the urethral canal or from the vaginal place. Obviously, anything from the urethral canal is impure. even if it is a single drop, which would require the person to perform wudu, whether it's he or she. And obviously, if it soils one's clothes, such as the underwear, the person must wash the spot, which he believes that it was soiled with these impurities. In the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said about two people who were being punished in their graves, and he mentioned the effective reason. He said, أَمَّا أَحَدُهُمَا فَكَانَ لَا يَسْتَبْرِئُ مِنْ بَوْلِهِ. One of them was being punished in the grave because he used not to clean up after urination, which means that the urine drops or what comes out of this canal must be washed so that the person will be in a state of tahara. The spot and the orifice must be washed, then the person can perform tahara or wudu. The second is the vaginal discharges, whether due to pregnancy or otherwise. There is a long discussion between the scholars. Some of the scholars are of the view that it is pure. يعني طاهر. I mean with the word pure here, the tahara, which would not nullify one's the purity of one's clothes. We're not talking about ablution yet. If this discharge soils one's clothes, in this case the woman who's having this vaginal discharge, there is a difference of opinion whether she would have to wash that spot before she would be able to pray or not. But they all agree that you must perform wudu. And to be in the safe side, we'll go with the opinion of Al-Shafi'iyya and Al-Hanabila and some of Al-Ahnaf in this regard, which adopts the view that this discharge is also impure. So the person, the woman, would have to wash it off and she would have to perform wudu. But in either case, there is no need for ghusl. There is no need for ghusl because this is not a major impurity. It would only rather perceived and treated as a minor impurity, which requires the person to perform wudu and clean up the spot first. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Sister Asia from the case A.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaykum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Sister Asia, welcome to the program.
Jazakallah khair. How are you, Sheikh?
Fine, alhamdulillah. Thank you for asking.
Sheikh, I have seen somewhere in some videos, in some African countries, there are people, they are making some model of Kaaba and model of Maqam Ibrahim, and they are wearing ihram and they are doing tawaf. Some people say they are just making practice before going Hajj. And in some school here also, I see that they make a Kaaba, a model Kaaba, and they just play a drama for the children, and the children are making tawaf and all. So all the such thing, okay, children, I can accept it. But the big people, they are doing, they're performing, they're wearing ihram, and they're doing those type of circulation. All such thing is permissible.
Thank you, Sister Asia. Barakallahu fiki. Making a model of the Kaaba for the pilgrims to practice beforehand, to know exactly where is the black stone corner, where is a Rukn al-Yamani, and what do you need to do, provided you clarify to people this is just a maquette. This is not the Kaaba, and it has no sacredness whatsoever. Because it is not permissible to revolve around or circumambulate anything other than the Kaaba. Okay? That is permissible as means of education. But what is not permissible is when you see people dressed up in ihram outfit and making 7 rounds. Now this is not educational. This is very confusing, whether for adults or for children. And as far as the educational means nowadays, with the 3D and with the audio video, you have programs where if you sit in the privacy of your home, if you attend a course, you will be able to realize and perceive how to perform tawaf thoroughly. You're not going to be missing a thing. So there is no need of confusing some people, because some children would come back from the school and say, we made Hajj today. We did tawaf today. That is not permissible. So if we build a maquette to show people the geography of the haram, where is this and where is that, and once you finish the tawaf, how to exit and go here, fine. But it could be one person demonstrating, okay? Not asking people to dress up in ihram and circumambulate the Kaaba, because this is not permissible. It is not a Kaaba. Assalamu alaikum. Sister Abdul Rahman from the KSA.
Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Sheikh, my question is, what is the ruling on currency trading?
Currency trading, okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
No, is it halal, legal, Islamically, Sharia? No, that's what my question is.
طيب. وجزاكم. Thank you, sister. Trading in currency exchange is like trading in any other permissible goods, provided, since this is money, there is a condition that the Prophet ﷺ stipulated, which is the exchange must be done in the same sitting, yadan biyad. Yadan biyad, you hand over the currency and you take its equivalent in whichever amount from another currency in the same sitting simultaneously. Because, brothers and sisters, a riba is not only in the increase, like you give 10 and you take 11 a month later or two. No. It's also a nasa, or riba and nasa, is a delay in the time. And this is a kind of riba which is also forbidden. So if you exchange any currency, it must be hand to hand in the same sitting. You go to the gold shop and you exchange all gold for new one. It must be the same weight. And yadan biyad. But this is old and this is new. And the seller is never going to sell the same weight, the same amount of new to me for the old. So what is the solution? Sell your old, collect the cash, finish this transaction, and begin a new transaction. Make a new purchase of the gold with whichever price that both of you agree to. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Sister Safa from the KSA. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Ask Huda.
Sheikh, assalamu alaikum, salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Sheikh, how are you, Sheikh?
I'm fine, alhamdulillah. Thank you for asking, Sister Safa.
Sheikh, I have only one question.
Now.
Dhuhr prayer, generally we do not pray aloud. But on a Friday, when I pray with my children in the house, I pray the surah in Shikak, which has a sujood. So I want my children to do the sujood, so I tend to pray aloud after the Surah Fatiha. I'm not aware whether what I'm doing is correct. To read the surah following Fatiha aloud, just to denote to my children that there is a sujood and I want them to make sujood with me. This we do on a Friday mostly, just to lengthen the prayer and to increase one sujood.
Okay, you mean in Dhuhr?
In Dhuhr, yes.
Okay, thank you, Sister Safa. In Dhuhr prayer, whether you're praying by yourself in congregation, you should not recite out loud. Okay? And if you happen to recite Surah Al-Inshiqaq, Surah Al-Hajj, Surah Al-Sajda, or Surah Al-A'raf, any ayah which have sujood, you make sujood and the followers should copy you. A person who's leading the prayer, before the prayer, may alert the followers that I'm going to be reciting whichever ayah in order, and there may be sujood in it. So I'm going to be making sujood. The Prophet ﷺ said in the hadith, إِنَّمَا جُعِلَ الْإِمَامُ لِيُؤْتَمَّ بِهِ, which means that the imam was appointed to be followed. So obviously when the imam makes sujood, we would assume that he was reciting ayat sajda. So we would prostrate ourselves in a way of following the imam. you don't have to recite out loud, because it is not prescribed to recite out loud in Dhuhr and in Asr prayers. Also, it is recommended on Friday morning to recite Surah As-Sajda in the first rak'ah, which have a sajda, and to recite Surah Al-Insan in the second rak'ah. But it is not prescribed to recite in Dhuhr any ayah or any surah or any other prayer which have sajda. So do not make this as a routine or a tradition, but make it regular, and whether in the prayer or outside the prayer. Yani when you sit with your kids and you recite the short chapters of the Quran, and you come across Surah Al-Alaq, and you recite it and there is sujood, then all of you make sujood. Okay? Barakallahu fiki. But you should not recite out loud for this reason. Brother Abdullah from Nigeria. Assalamu alaikum, Abdullah.
Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah. Sheikh, I have two questions.
Naam.
The first question, Sheikh, if someone took a promise to Almighty Allah that he will fast Monday and Thursday, unknowing to he don't know the implication, but he made the promise. If Allah gives him such, he will fast Monday and Thursday. And in the process, he started fasting it. Then he falls sick, that he needs medication and he falls sick. So if he leaves the fasting, is there any kafara for him?
Okay.
Yes. And if he
intended, or he vowed to do that for life, or for just a couple times, Monday and Thursday.
He didn't. It's like for life. It's like for life.
For life.
Yeah, yeah. But now he don't know the implication of it. One of his sheikh told him about it, the implication of it. Can he now seek Allah's forgiveness and said he will do it not for life? If he is well, he will do it, and if he is not well, he can leave it. Is it permissible?
Jazakallahu khairan. Assalamu alaikum. Zahur from the KSA, welcome to Ask Huda.
Sir, my question is regarding slaughtering, zabah. Say, for example, if the Christian is making zabah by saying Bismillah Allahu Akbar or without saying Bismillah Allahu Akbar, can we eat that meat in making a normal zabah, taking the blood out from the animal, or it's a chicken or it's a sheep, or
Well,
you got my question?
Yeah, I got your question. Thank you. Abdullah from Nigeria. Somebody made a vow, if Allah would fulfill my wish or deliver what I wanted, I'm going to fast Monday and Thursdays forever. What do you guys think of this offer? Somebody is making such trade with Allah. If you deliver, I'm going to worship you. I'm going to deliver. I'm going to fast. I'm going to do extra worship. So do you ever think that Allah the Almighty will be persuaded in this way? So accordingly, He's going to change His decree because He wants you to fast for Him? And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said in this regard, such nadhr would not change Allah's decree. Such vow would not change your destiny. وَإِنَّمَا يُسْتَخْرَجُ بِهِ مِنَ الْبَخِيلِ. And it is just a mean that, to extract something out of a stingy person. Because normally the vow will be in the form of, I'm going to offer such and such in a charity. I'm going to slaughter a cow. I'm going to feed 10 people. I'm going to do this and this. He's carried away. He wants his wife to survive. He wants his son to be blessed, his daughter to get married. He wants the operation to be successful. So he says, oh Allah, if this happens, I'm going to feed 100 people. I'm going to slaughter 2 cows. And normally when people come to us and say, I made a vow right away. I know that he was cornered somewhere. He was desperate somehow. And he made a vow thinking that this vow would spin the situation around. No. So, rather make a vow. The vow or another is a great act of worship. And it is recommended, but without conditions. Without saying, if you deliver, I'm going to do this. But by the end, in the hadith, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, من نذر أن يطيع الله فليطعه ومن نذر أن يعصيه فلا يعصه. If a person made a vow, and this vow entails an obedience or an act of worship, fasting Mondays and Thursdays, you must fulfill it. What if the person cannot do it? Then we resort to the kafara, which is after this call, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum. Sister Abdul Rahman from the KSA.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I have two questions.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Go ahead.
One question is, I have jury duty coming up pretty soon, and I want to know, is that permissible for me to attend it? And if not, they don't have any religious excuse on their list of excuses not to attend. So I want to know if that's something that I...
In which country, Abdul Rahman, you're having the jury duty?
In the United States.
So do you have to fly back?
Well, I will. We will, at the same time. We will be there. We just will happen to be there at around the same time.
Okay.
In Texas.
Okay.
In March. So that's my first question. The second question is it permissible to put a pet, like a cat, put him to sleep if he is suffering and it's too expensive or too complicated to treat him?
Okay.
Jazakallah khair.
Wa jazakum. Okay, so we were talking about the vow. إنما يستخرج به من البخيل. It is just a means of making the stingy person pay or give, or a person who is lacking behind in worship to vow to make. But it will not spin things around. It will not change your condition. Your condition is not going to change simply because of your vow. What changes the condition is only a dua, your invocation and your prayer. But in any case, if the person have already made a vow, then the person must fulfill this vow if it is something permissible. If he or she fails to fulfill the vow, then the kafara, or if the vow is to do something forbidden, or not to do something which is mandatory, then the Prophet ﷺ said, فَلْيَأْتِ الَّتِي هِيَ خَيْرٌ وَلْيُكَفِّرْ عَنْ يَمِينِهِ. So there is a ransom, which is similar to the ransom or an expiation for one's oath, al-mun'aqida, if he fails to fulfill it. That is stipulated in Surah Al-Ma'idah, فَكَفَّارَتُهُ إِطْعَامُ عَشَرَةِ مَسَاكِينَ مِنْ أَوْسَطِ مَا تُطْعِمُونَ أَهْلِيكُمْ أَوْ كِسْوَتُهُمْ أَوْ تَحْرِيرُ رَقَبَةٍ فَمَنْ لَمْ يَجِدْ فَصِيَامُ ثَلَاثَةِ أَيَّامٍ. So this ayah stated that if you fail to fulfill your oath, and if you fail to fulfill your vow, the ransom will be feeding 10 poor people, أَوْ كِسْوَتُهُمْ, or buying clothes, outfit for 10 poor people. If the person doesn't have the means to feed, to ransom or free a slave neck, or to buy clothes for 10 poor people, فَمَنْ لَمْ يَجِدْ, if you don't have the means, and if it is not possible, فَصِيَامُ ثَلَاثَةِ أَيَّامٍ. Fasting for 3 days, and it doesn't have to be consecutive. ذَلِكَ كَفَّارَةُ أَيْمَانِكُمْ إِذَا حَلَفْتُمْ. So if the person failed to fulfill his oath, or his nadhr, or his vow, and he cannot continue to do it for life, as you said that, then the prescription is to feed or to clothe 10 masakin, because obviously the third option, which is fasting for 3 days, if he can fast and he doesn't have the means, he should fast. Barakallahu fikum. Zahur from the KSA says that some Christians who slaughter meat and they say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, or they don't say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Are we allowed to eat from the meat which they slaughtered, whether it's meat or chicken? Yes, you're allowed, according to what Allah said in the Quran in Surah Al-Ma'idah. He said, وَطَعَامُ الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابَ حِلٌّ لَكُمْ وَطَعَامُكُمْ حِلٌّ لَهُمْ, which means that the food, yani the meat which is slaughtered, not killed. We spoke in the previous episode about the process of the sacrifice and slaughtering. Ta'am, which means generally food, but in this ayah, Abdullah ibn Abbas, Tarjuman al-Quran, says it refers to the meat which is slaughtered by the people of the book, by Jews or Christians. حِلٌّ لَكُمْ, lawful for you to eat. وَطَعَامُكُمْ حِلٌّ لَهُمْ, and your meat which you slaughter is lawful for them to consume. By that we come to the end of this session, and insha'Allah Azza next episode I'll begin by answering Sister Abdurrahman's 2 questions, because we really went over time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Allah is my heart's speech, your mercy is what I beseech. Keep in my heart your remembrance, and in your deen allow me to advance. Help me in my quest, permit me to pass the ultimate test. Help me in my quest, permit me to pass the ultimate test. Allah is my heart's speech, your mercy is what I beseech. Keep in my heart your remembrance, and in your deen allow me to advance. Help me in my quest, permit me to pass the ultimate